Hey, what's up YouTube? I'm the smartphone guy coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to take a look at a very budget-friendly device for AT&T Prepaid. This is the Alcatel CameoX. So I was actually able to pick this up for $20 at Best Buy, but you can see the regular price is $40. So it was available for the weekend of Black Friday and Cyber Monday for 20 bucks, but as you can see right now, it is back up to the regular price of $40. So I'm going to do some quick comparisons to the ZTE Maven 3 because this one is a $30 phone, obviously, for AT&T Prepaid, whereas this one's $40. So we'll talk about some differences between the two and whether that extra $10 is worth it, and then we'll also talk about what all this thing has to offer. So let's go ahead and start out with the build quality. You can see this is a plasticky back. I do kind of like the fact that this has a white back versus just a plain old black back, although I honestly prefer black phones, but this is kind of a cool two-tone look to it, so black and white, nice offsetting colors there, but it's very plasticky, no doubt about that, very budget friendly. The back is removable, and underneath that back you will expose a 2050 milliamp hour battery. You can see it does have a slot for SD card, so this has 2 gigs of RAM and 16 gigs of onboard storage, so that is one thing that kind of sets that apart from the Maven 3, because the Maven 3 does also have an SD card slot, but it only has 8 gigs of onboard storage. And one other thing that is an advantage here is that this actually has the ability to use that SD card as internal storage, whereas I wasn't able to figure that out. If this one has it, somebody let me know, but I wasn't able to actually get that to allow it for internal storage. So that's a huge advantage for this phone because, you know, with only 16 gigs of onboard storage, it's nice to be able to have that expandable storage. Now, in terms of the in terms of the cameras, we have a 5 megapixel camera on the back with a flash, and then on the front, whoops, I actually launched the camera. It was like it was meant to be. And then on the front, we have a 2 megapixel camera. In terms of the display, we have a 5-inch display, so same as the ZTE Maven 3, but then we have on here an 854 by 480 pixel density, so definitely less than HD, and you can definitely tell as you're looking at it, it's certainly not the highest quality screen. In fact, viewing angles aren't particularly great. It does get relatively bright. Oh, let me get rid of that notification real quick. And it does get relatively bright, but in the brightest of light, it is a little bit hard to see. So it kind of blows up in my display here through my camera, but it actually isn't as bright as it would appear on the display. So build quality wise, definitely a budget friendly phone. Certainly no better or worse than the ZTE Maven 3, but the advantage here is that extra storage. So in terms of performance, we have the Snapdragon 210 processor on this device, and I'll just give you kind of a quick example of what it's like going through social media. So you can see there's certainly some lag there. You could see that, you know, I started moving and it didn't really move with me. So it's a little bit of, you know, you can see that lag there. So that will be, you know, if you're used to a faster phone, obviously there is going to be some lag there. In terms of gaming, so I was playing this game earlier, NBA Jam, definitely one of my favorite games. It does it well. You know, there's definitely some, you will notice when you're playing games that there will be some frame dropping, but that's to be expected for a phone that only costs $40, but it's certainly playable. So that is nice. You can at least play some of those games, even some relatively graphic intensive games like NBA Jam. I was playing some Hill Climb Racer 2 earlier just to kind of test it out, see how it did. Now, you certainly are not going to be able to play any kind of higher end games on this phone. So this has 2 gigs of RAM, whereas the ZTE Maven 3 has 1 gig of RAM, so another advantage going to the Alcatel CameoX. So performance-wise, certainly budget-friendly, but very doable on this one. So in terms of the cameras, we have a 2 megapixel camera up front, 5 megapixel camera on the back. I'm just going to give you just a quick sample of some shots that I took on both of these devices. So this is the OnePlus 5T. Also a phone that's, you know, mid-range, I'd say, so $500, but certainly nowhere near the price that you're going to pay for this one at only $40. So you can see the same picture there. Obviously, the OnePlus 5T is a lot clearer, definitely a lot more real to life. This one kind of blows up the colors a little bit. So that's a 5 megapixel camera in low light. Both of these are obviously low light. You can see basically the only lighting there is the Christmas lights. Here's a front-facing shot. So that there it's really obvious the difference between the two. So the OnePlus 5T has a 16 megapixel camera, whereas this one only has a 2 megapixel camera, and you can see that it really struggled with any kind of lighting there. Very exact same lighting, and you definitely wouldn't tell based on the picture itself. But same exact lighting, and obviously with low light, this is going to struggle. In good lighting, you're going to take some okay shots. So certainly nothing that is amazing. But if you're just buying it for a kid, which is probably what you're getting this for, or just because you just want a little device on the side or whatever, then it's doable. It's something that you're going to have to deal with the low resolution cameras, but it's not bad for only $40. Now, in terms of battery life, that is another area where I'd say this phone does struggle just a little bit. I started it out at 50%. I didn't actually get a full charge, and you can see we have micro SD. There is a 1 amp charger in there, so kind of the slower charger. But let's go ahead and take a look at what our screen on time is like. Now, again, this is only about 30% drop here because it was started out at 50. But let's go ahead and take a look at what we got here. Now, I did download a number of apps here. So in that 30% drop, looking at about 1 hour. So I would guess around 3 to 4 hours of screen on time. So certainly not amazing, but not bad either, especially for a phone with only a 2000 milliamp hour battery. Now, in terms of the software, this is pretty much just running stock Android 7.0, so that's nice. It's nice to see that they don't have a ton of bloatware. The only bloatware that's really on here, so you can see Android 7.0. I wouldn't expect at a $40 price point to get any kind of software updates, so you'll be on Android, and it's at the July security patch, so that's pretty much what you'll be at through the remainder of your time with this device. But in terms of the actual device, you can see it's pretty much just stock Android 7.0. There's really nothing added to it at all. So that is nice. There are just a couple of gestures, so you can double tap to turn the screen on, turn over to activate for snoozing alarms, and then turn over to mute incoming calls as well. So those are the 3 gestures it has, but other than that, like I said, just stock Android. And then another thing worth mentioning here is that there is some AT&T bloatware, of course. So some of them are removable. So like, for instance, device help, you can only disable, you can't actually remove it. We'll get out of that. All right, but there are some that you can actually get rid of. So like, I believe Protect Plus is one of them. Nope, you can only disable that one. So it does give you the option to disable them, but you won't be able to completely get rid of them. I know drive mode, you can actually, no, you can only disable that one as well. So you are going to have to deal with the AT&T apps, but other than that, it's pretty much just stock. Now, there is this Retail Me Not coupons. That was one of them. See, now that one actually is you can actually uninstall that one, so that's nice. And then we have radio, so that's cool. I'm guessing Yellow Pages you can probably, nope, you can only disable. Wow, you can't even get rid of Yellow Pages. That's kind of weak. So a few apps that they throw in here with the phone, but for the most part, it is pretty much just stock. Uber and Yelp. I'm not sure if you can get rid of those, but I'm not even going to try. So in terms of the speaker, let's go ahead and listen to some music on this thing. So we have a speaker, one rear firing speaker. I was actually kind of surprised at how loud it got. Let's go ahead and take a listen. Now, of course, there's a disadvantage of the fact that it's on the back, but it actually gets pretty loud. Definitely a little tinny, no question there, but decently loud. It'd be doable for some speakerphone calls here. Very tinny though, because this is supposed to be a bassy. You're supposed to hear some bass there, and you don't really hear it at all. So definitely tinny, but in terms of the actual speaker, it does get pretty decently loud. So that's a quick look at the Alcatel CameoX. Now, again, if I were to choose between one of these two, the reason I would say it's definitely worth the upgrade for the Alcatel over the ZTE Maven 3 is simply because of that extra storage and the fact that you can use that storage as internal storage with that SD card. So that's a huge advantage here. And then also the other advantage would be going from 1 gig of RAM to 2 gigs of RAM. So a nice upgrade for that extra $10. But anyways, quick look at the Alcatel CameoX. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave them down in the comment section. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.